Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Business Innovators Radio. I am your host, Ralph Brogdon, and joining me today is Andrew Hackett. He is an author, a teacher, and a seminar leader with more than 20 years of experience helping people think outside their limitations and move beyond their fears so they can accomplish amazing things in their life, business, and relationships. Andrew is the author of the book, Free from Fear, and he works with people to show them that fear is an illusion, that boundaries don't exist, and that limitations are only what we decide they are. So, Andrew Hackett, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Ralph, and thank you very much for having me on your show. It's great to be here.
And I should mention that you were joining us all the way from Australia. What part of Australia?
Down on the New South Wales south coast, Australia. It's a beautiful place in the world. We're a little bit cooler here in the middle of our winter, but it's still a great place to live.
Well, it's really good to connect with you and to tap into your expertise in the area of helping people get free from fear, because I think that really touches so many people right where they live and right where they work. But before we get to that, Andrew, tell us a little bit more about who you are and who you help.
Yeah, look, that's a great question, Ralph. And one, to be quite honest with you, I've been asking myself quite a lot over the last few years. Some people see it as a question of self-reflection. I actually see it more as a question of ultimate creation. When we start looking at who we are, we start thinking about the incredible possibilities that we have to recreate ourselves. A few years ago, in all honesty, when I was asking myself that question, wasn't entirely happy with the response I was getting. I wasn't really happy with who I was as a father, who I was as a partner, and who I was to the people around me. And I really wanted to make those changes in my life that were necessary. So I decided effectively to try and reinvent myself, hit the reset button, so to speak. But first, of course, I had to figure out who it is that I really wanted to be. And it's not about not being true to yourself or anything like that. It's more about looking at small tweaks, small refinements that we want to make, and making a better version of ourselves that we're happy and proud of. So, in all honesty, to answer your question, who am I? Well, to be honest, it's still a work in progress. And I think it always will be. But for now, I'm a man who is happy in life and in love, a father to 3 great boys, and a servant to the needs of the others seeking more from their life. I like to surf and kayak like most people, and for fun, I like to jump out of planes because it helps me understand and realize that fear really is just an illusion.
Well, now you jump out of planes. Now, you do have a parachute, right?
Yeah, I do have a parachute. It's a lot of fun. I really recommend it to anybody who just wants to, be a little crazy from time to time. It's a great experience. But the thing I like about it so much so is that it really helps me get my mind back into the space of the fact that, fear really is an illusion. It is really a construct made up from our mind.
Now, how did you get started in this area of fear? Tell us a little bit about your background and some of that journey that took you from where you were to where you are now. Yeah,
another good question, Ralph. 10 years ago, believe it or not, to the day, which is a little strange actually when I really think about it, but I made a decision to no longer be ruled by fear. I had a bit of a troubling past and had allowed that past to consume me to the point where I was controlled by fear and fear's constructs in everyday life. And in fact, it had kind of crept up on me a little bit, and I'd allowed it to. And I suddenly realized that I just no longer wanted to be like that. I no longer wanted to be controlled by fear. I no longer wanted to be constrained in the way that it was happening. And So I made a constructive decision and I used the term to fix myself back in those days. Look, that led me on a really great process of getting help and of breaking down and trying to understand exactly what was happening for me. And the long and short of it is that I had developed a process almost unwittingly on how to overcome fear and how to deal with fear when it did rise. Because, it's not something you can switch off like a light switch and then it never comes back. Fear works in so many different ways, and the ego, its crafty little friend, sits on your shoulder like a parrot, and it's constant for most of us, and even those of us who are aware of it, it does often try to come back and gain control again. So, for me, it was quite a beautiful journey. In fact, now that I look back at it, at the time it wasn't the easiest thing to be able to accomplish, but what I have gained from it is a broader understanding of, fear, how the mind works associated with it, how the ego, its crafty little friend, works, and fortunately managed to put together a process that can enable others to also free themselves of their fears and start creating a life of, real potential, effectively help them create a life of living their dreams.
That sounds really exciting, and I think that's probably, if we had to kind of narrow it down to what's the big thing that holds people back, I think it's exactly what you are an expert in. It's in fear. We are afraid of so many things, and that fear drives us, or kind of hinders us and becomes an obstacle to our success and living the life that we want to live. Now, you work with people to help overcome those areas, but I'm curious, what's the most common problem that you see when you're trying to help people get over their fears? What's the thing that keeps holding them back over and over again with the people that you're working with?
Yeah, that's a really easy one, actually, and it may not be the answer you think. The most common problem I see in almost everyone I talk to is that they don't understand how prevalent fear is in their life. Most people fear getting out of bed, getting organised to get the kids out the door or to go to work. They're anxious about being at work and about having the value that they add. They're anxious about fitting in amongst their peers and about getting by, paying bills and having enough. This all leads into anxiety. Anxiety often leads into depression. And, these conditions, as we refer to them as, are on the rise. And most of us are heavily medicated because we have no alternatives. Yep. So most people are focused on, judging others for who they are or how they dress or how they act. Too many people are trying to control what others are doing or believing, and in the process, they're forgetting to see that they've actually lost complete control of their own lives. The biggest problem that I believe we have as a society is that we believe it's normal, not that it's normal that this is what life is all about. Fear comes in and it's very crafty and it builds up and eventually it becomes everyday life. The vast majority of people in this world are suffering as a result of the fear mechanisms that are in their lives. And it's everyday stuff. Yes, there is extreme fear. Yes, we have phobias. Yes, we have, fear of of being harmed by others and all that sort of stuff. And that stuff's also very real for a lot of people. All I'm trying to say is that these things don't actually have to be something that creates suffering in our life. It is something that we can, in fact, embrace. And, my book talks about, first of all, identifying the fear, but, almost, loving fear back because, really, when we love something that is made up of a fear-based construct, it actually starts to dissipate and disappear.
Interesting. And I like what you said about making a distinction between phobias and things that most people think of. When you talk about fear, and they're thinking, oh, well, I'm afraid of spiders, or, I'm afraid of the dark, or whatever. And then you've got the other segment of the population that says, well, I'm not afraid of it. I'm not a fearful person. I'm not afraid of anything, but you're really tapping into kind of a universal condition. Psychologists call it general anxiety disorder, but it basically means you're stressed out because of fear. And so, it's not like this is only affecting a small percentage of the population, but it comes disguised as anxiety or stress or general anxiety disorder. But really the root of it is fear, based on what I'm hearing you say. So that leads me to the question, someone listening to this and they begin to resonate with it and say, well, yeah, I'm afraid of success, or I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of not fulfilling my potential, as well as some of these other big fears that come to mind when people usually think about it. But what can someone do right now, if there is anything, to begin to see some immediate improvement in fear, whether it's a big fear or a small fear?
Yeah, look, another great question, Ralph. And to be quite honest with you, one that I actually get asked quite a lot. The way I respond to people is, first of all, to try and get them to recognize what's going on for them, how fear is manifesting within them. Because, as we would expect, fear is related to, in very different ways, by almost everybody. So by understanding and recognizing how fear presents in our life, whether it is that extreme fear aspect that really cripples us, or is it a more subtle, more, call it everyday fear construct that, controls us and keeps us in our head. The purpose of recognizing what's going on for us is fairly obvious, is because if we can't recognize what's happening for us, we can't then make a constructive choice to reflect and resolve on the situation to then change it. So, I recommend the use of a simple 3-step process I've developed called recognize, reflect, and resolve. And this is to enable people to recognize what is actually happening for them in their lives and reflect on what they desire that is different to what they experience. The last step is about resolving what is happening through making the decisions and taking the action necessary to drive change to what they truly desire. Mm-hmm. You see, in my experience, most people have forgotten that they actually are the only ones that have any type of ability to create their life. A lot of people forget that they are the creators of their everyday life. And so they almost assign everything that happens to them to something external to them, to the people at their work, or to their job that they hate, or to the other people that are around them and the way those other people are treating them, that those outside influences in fact actually create our life experience. Whereas I argue that it's actually exactly the opposite. We are the only ones that can create our life experience. And we need to be aware of that and embrace that, because when we do start to identify with the fact that we are the only ones that can create our life experience, we can take control of that mindset, and we can start to positively influence it through the way we think and through the way we act as a result. So when we think about that 3-step process, I suggest to people that to recognize what is happening within them, get them to understand how prevalent fear is in their lives and how fear uses the ego to manipulate their minds into thinking that there's no alternative to the unhappy, unfulfilling lives that they're already leading. This is done ultimately through the understanding of different facets and constructs of fear. Once we recognize that something's happening with us that we don't like, our natural response is to battle with it and somehow try to resolve it with the same type of energy that was used to create it in the first place. Now, even Einstein knew that wasn't possible. Look, it's why war never works. We're killing people who are trying to kill us, who are killing us because we're trying to kill them. Another circle of madness. I believe that's why Gandhi's message to the world was so powerful. It was also the message from Buddha and Jesus, that they all chose to offer the opposite energy to the energy that was creating the problem in the first instance. That's what I try to do by, first of all, analysing how fear presents in people's lives and then offering that fear love to dispel it and to dissipate it into something that then can be utilised as a positive life experience. Now, obviously, we need to be honest with ourselves and accept what is presented in our life experience and how our thoughts and feelings are in fact creating that life experience before we can begin to understand what is necessary to change that life experience. Breaking through the fear barrier is essential to surrendering to the process of finding the cause of what is dragging us down or stopping us from doing what we truly are.
That makes a lot of sense. And when you talk about fear in the context of control, it seems to me that a lot of behavior, a lot of negative dysfunctional behavior, especially in relationships, is a result of fear of losing control, fear of not being in control or not losing or losing control. And that is so powerful when you realize what you're saying, that you do have control. You control your response. You control your attitude. You can design the life that you want. And just having that knowledge and that empowerment that you can control it. You are in control. Maybe not in control of everything, but you're in control of the things that matter most. And it seems like that would really help people get over that, the big fear of losing control that drives all of that negative behavior.
Yeah, and look, that's a good point, Ralph. Control is a very interesting thing to a lot of people, and something that, in all honesty with you, that I tried for many, many years. When we set about trying to control things around us, it is about actually creating a sense of peace. It's about having things where they should be so that we feel at ease. The problem is it is a very false sense of peace. And part of it's because the actual idea of controlling things that are external to us is also a false objective, because we can't control things that are external to us. All we can control, and in fact we're the only one that can control it, is our thoughts about it, about the thoughts that we have that create our life experience. And I think that can often be quite a profound realization for a lot of people, is the fact that, people think, I don't have any control over the thoughts in my head. My head's just going a million miles an hour and chattering. The Buddhists call that monkey mind. And in all honesty with you, you can get a hold of it and you can work with it and you can manage it. And most of the point is you can actually use it to your advantage to not only overcome fear and overcome the unhealthy aspects in your life, but actually to deliberately create very healthy, very happy, peaceful aspects of your life that actually then physically change the way the universe responds around you. It's a very, very powerful tool to be able to learn. And I'm just very fortunate now that I understand it enough and have created enough of a process and a structure to enable to share it with others so that they can then make the positive changes in their own lives.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really, really good. But it leads me to the next question, because I think that this sounds good. However, for a lot of people who are really in the grip of fear and are really beginning to understand, maybe for the first time, that they are in control, maybe they're not good candidates for self-help. How would working with someone like you, who is an expert in this area, really improve their chances for success?
Yeah, I think everyone has more success, when we have someone to guide us and to keep us honest and accountable to our goals. The whole coaching industry has been built on that exact premise, hasn't it? People get great results through simple, easy to understand processes that are just as easy to implement. People don't have the time or the desire to unpack or create this sort of thing from scratch. And, why should they, when I've already done so? Also, I find challenging people in some of their beliefs that they have, that are not working for them, helps them break down the process of why they are in the unsatisfactory situation they find themselves in. Any good scientist knows that if you do the same thing in the same environment over and over again, you always get the same result. It's now, widely known that it's bordering on insanity to do the same thing each time, but to expect a different result. And that's exactly what most of us are doing. In today's world, I actually think people are ready to accept the fact that through repeating what another person has done, they can get the same positive results that person got, but for themselves in their own life. And it helps them work through all their pain, and means that they don't have to take the time and the work needed to create it all from scratch. Now, this is something that I've been, working on for well over 10 years, and I mean, every day. So I'm not asking everybody to sit back and go, right, I need to put 10 years of my life aside so that I can then figure out how to do this. This is something that they can do very quickly, very simply, and very easily. And, if they're happy to follow the lead of someone who's tried it all before and, in all honesty, failed a few times, refined it a few times, and finally ended up with a solid, repeatable product in the end, well, then, great for them. As I stated earlier, I've developed a set of beliefs, processes, and behaviours that can easily be mirrored to produce great results, and I'm willing to share it with the world. This is something I've already done through friends and families and other people that have come into my life seeking help, and I'm yet to find someone who cannot produce amazing results in their life as a result. Let's just say I take the hard work out of it and keep the enjoyment in it to fast-track the changes that people desire in their lives. Now, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it can happen quite quickly for a lot of people, and most of it is about challenging the belief system that people have, because it is our belief systems that actually contain us, that put boundaries on us, that fear straps on top of and controls us. If we can challenge those belief systems, then really we open up the door to possibilities that most people have never even perceived as an option. So, look, I would have jumped at the opportunity myself to accomplish in a short time what actually took me 10 years to accomplish on my own. And I really look forward to the opportunity to being able to offer this to people, only so that we can see some great positive changes in their lives for the better.
My guest today is Andrew Hackett. He is an author, teacher, and a seminar leader who for more than 20 years has been helping people think outside their limitations and move beyond their fears so they can accomplish the things in their life, business, and relationships that they want to accomplish. I wanted to ask Andrew, what are you reading or listening or watching right now that's really inspiring to you as you work with people in the area of overcoming their fears? And maybe there's something that has been helpful to you that you could recommend to our listeners.
Yeah, look, another good question, Ralph. I keep reminding myself that I'm not necessarily inventing anything new here. This is something that a lot of people have written books about over the millennia. A lot of ancient texts refer back to the fact that we are the ones that create our life experience, and that ultimately our thoughts and feelings are the process of that creation. I spend a lot of time traveling on the road to different places to help different groups of people, and as a result, I actually find audiobooks to be a great source of information and opportunity to learn as I travel. For years now, I've been consuming almost a new book every week. And so the list is wide and varied, but I often come back to Eckhart Tolle's work because he reminds me of the importance to staying present and keeping the ego out of life's experience. I love Tony Robbins. What a great guy of great energy, great possibilities. And, I like his work because it gets me going and enables me to focus my attention to take the action required to achieve what I seek to achieve. I'm also a really big fan of Brian Weiss's work, Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer, because they remind me that there's so much more to the universe to explore and so much more for us to know and understand about how we work within the universe's energy. Ultimately, I believe humans have only just scratched the surface on the universe, our place within it, and as a collective as well as an individual. And as scientists start to explore further and further outside the traditional academic boundaries, we're all starting to understand that we really have a very small understanding of life, the universe, and everything. This developing curiosity that I have about the power of the mind, the relationship we have with our mind, and the benefits that we can be created through challenging our belief systems and redefining them when they are obviously no longer working for us, is something that really drives me. And it's something that I really hope to spark in a lot of other people. I feel too often we get caught up within the boundaries of who we are and, where we are, and we don't pay enough attention to what we actually desire to become. We've all been raised to believe that we have limitations, but I've been working for years now to actually try and find mine. And to be honest, I'm yet to actually find it that they exist. Working with others to help them find their boundaries, their limitations is actually proving to some very similar results. We actually can't find where those boundaries are. We can't find where those limitations are. And that's ultimately what happens when you start to consciously push those boundaries. We actually start to realize that they are a complete illusion. Look, I think there's a lot more work to be done here, and I'm looking forward to exploring it all further with as many possible people as I can over the next year or so.
Well, it sounds like a message that the world really needs to hear. Usually at this point, I would ask someone, what are you working on that's got you really excited? But I think I know the answer to it. You've got a book. You're the author of Free from Fear, and that book is soon to be published. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that book and anything else that you want to share along those lines?
Yeah, great, Ralph. Thank you. I'm actually really excited about this. There are actually two big things that I'm working on at the moment. One is the book. The book is something that I've actually been working on for a couple of years now and pulling it all together finally to get it out there, because the whole point to be behind the book is being able to enable people to make those positive changes in their life. The book that's coming out very soon, it's called Free from Fear, and Understanding Fear's Control Over Your Life and Why Loving It Will Set You Free. My book explores the love and fear dichotomy and how through understanding fear and its crafty friendly ego, we can better understand our relationship to them and not our association of them as ourselves. And that is a real critical factor there. Through this understanding, we can prove to ourselves that fear is an illusion and our limitations are nothing more than a construct of our fear-driven ego. The last few years has taught me that people are actually really unhappy in their lives and that they live with a fear-driven unhappiness, anxiety and depression that is so prevalent in everyday life for so many people. It's now understood to be the new norm. People are living with unnecessary fear constructs in their daily life, and so much so that they honestly believe that is all life has to offer. Now, I'm hoping through my book that people will be able to see what this madness is all about and how prevalent it is in our lives. I'm hoping to show people that life isn't about that at all, and that there is actually very good reason why they feel unsatisfied with their lives, why they feel like there is so much more to be made from life. And that's because in the simple reality, it's that they're right. There is so much more that life does have to offer, and it is available to everyone. In fact, I go so far as to say that it's actually everyone's birthright to accomplish everything they desire in their lives. This leads me also to my next exciting chapter, which I'm very excited about. I have got some courses coming out later in the year, which I'm delivering in Australia. These are effectively a one-day program to get people started on identifying fears, understanding how the process works, and putting the process into practical delivery in their own lives. Participating in a facilitator-led program to identify unhelpful belief systems. People will learn to put in place healthy habits, healthy beliefs and processes that not only free themselves of their fears, but unlock the limitless potential that everybody has within them. I'm really excited about this course because I've been doing a lot of work with individuals to try and break down, the process and refine it and to get it right. And now I have the opportunity to actually stand in front of groups and, teach this to larger people. And it's all about me being able to touch the lives of as many people as I possibly can in the time that I've got available to me. The program, the course, just like the book it will challenge some people. In fact, some people will need to completely rewrite their entire belief system. But I believe people are ready for it. In fact, I believe people are excited about the opportunity to be able to do so. Excellent. I know some of so I was about to say, I know some of it sounds a little bit too good to be true. And when I initially talk to people, a lot of people sort of sit back and think, I'm not too sure, how all this is going to work.
They're
and a
afraid,
lot of that's
right?
because
they're listening to their fears.
They are, absolutely. Yep, that's exactly right. They are afraid. And a lot of it's because they've been taught, educated, raised based on a certain belief system, and that's okay. But, as adults, we need to be able to sit back and, have a look at that belief system and realize for us, how much does that actually work for us? Does that belief system actually provide the life that I actually really want to live? And in the vast majority of cases that I've come across, that answer is no. So I realized last year that what I had was both transferable and repeatable, and also through the delivery to groups, it makes it more accessible. I'm putting together a learning package that will enable people from outside my current reach to also have access to the system themselves, and I'm hoping for that to be available by the end of the year. So to have the opportunity to positively influence people's lives so profoundly, is an opportunity that I just can't avoid. I've got to do it. And this is really ultimately what my purpose in life is. I just hope that I can touch the hearts of enough people so that they can find their purpose in life and have the courage and lack of fear to, go for it and live their dream.
Excellent. And I think you will do that. I think that you have really tapped into something that is going to be very much needed and will be appreciated by so many people. Our listeners who want to find out more about you and your work, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
That's really easy. They can go to andrewhackett.com.au and register their details. So when this information becomes available, they can be the first to know all about it and where to access it. I'll also be sending them through a few snippets of my book too, just to help them get the taste for it, and to get them started before they come into the course, so that they can get on the path to complete happiness and fulfillment straight away.
That sounds really good. This has really been very enlightening and eye-opening, Andrew, and I feel like I'm already kind of inspired and motivated just to go out there and overcome my fears. But do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners as we close?
Yeah, look, I have many thoughts, Ralph, but whether the wisdom is yet to be seen. But look, on a serious note, I just want to say that everything we experience as our lives on this beautiful planet is based on one or two things. Every thought, every feeling, every choice we make is based on either love or fear. Now, 10 years ago, I made a constructive decision to no longer be ruled by fear, to no longer be controlled and consumed by fear-based constructs that were creating the negative life experience that I was having. I realized then that by changing the thoughts and feelings we associate to them, we quite literally can create a better life. One thing that separates highly successful people from the rest of us is that they understand that fear is an illusion and our thoughts and feelings create our life experience. Now, I don't know about you or the listeners to this show, but I do know about me. And just like I did 10 years ago, I wake up every day making a constructive choice that I can create a life based on what I desire my life to be. You see, I desire a life of happiness and fulfillment, of abundance and success. And every year since making that choice, I've created a life of complete abundance. And, so much so, to be quite honest with you, I still pinch myself on a daily basis, expecting to wake up from some magnificent dream. Over the years, overcoming your fears is the beginning of a beautiful journey towards an amazing life. It's not just reserved for the rich and famous. The universe is actually waiting to deliver you the life you have always desired it, and it just needs you to make a simple choice. I not only believe you can do it, but I believe I can show you how.
Excellent, excellent. Words of wisdom and motivation from Andrew Hackett. He's a teacher, a seminar leader with more than 20 years of experience helping people overcome their fears, and he is the author of the book Free from Fear, which will be published very soon. You can find out more about Andrew Hackett. Just go to andrewhackett.com.au and make sure to leave your contact information there so that he can send you more of his wisdom on how to overcome fear and create the life, business, and relationships that you want. Andrew, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph, for the time and for helping to get the word out about this great opportunity. I thank the universe every day for the opportunity to make such a profound difference in people's lives.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.